On the show this week, I was delighted to sit down with James Sullivan, who is Group General Counsel at Bitstamp. The Bitstamp's involved in the crypto space, but it's one of the world's longest standing crypto exchange platforms. So it allows you to trade, allows individuals and businesses to trade in cryptocurrency. So really at the cutting edge of technology. And he's someone that's been embedded in this sector for quite a long time as crypto standards go. James talks about his varying functions and where he's worked in roles which I found really interesting. Chief Risk Officer positions in compliance. He held a COO position, and how that's enabled him and helped him to deliver legal services in slightly different ways, and is creative in how he does that. We talk about the importance and how interesting it was to have gone through an executive MBA back in 2011, how he got internal support for putting himself through that, and how he managed to manage that juggle. And we also hear a bit more about travel and the role that he holds at Bitstamp and everything that's happening in that space from a regulatory perspective. So right at the cutting edge of an emerging sector, one that splits and divides people on the crypto space, and not one that everyone knows a lot about. So a lot to get stuck into. So I hope you enjoy. Today's episode of Lessons I Learned in Law is proudly brought to you by Wordsmith AI. Now, Wordsmith AI is redefining how in-house legal teams automate routine tasks and repetitive tasks like contract review and internal requests, so that you and your legal team can work strategically and work on proactive projects. They're an Edinburgh-based startup. They're one of the UK's fastest growing startups, and at a really exciting time in their growth journey. They're showing how technology, AI, and talent as a combination can really build the modern in-house legal team. So find out more by heading over to wordsmith.ai. Hi, James.
Hi, Scott. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Welcome to Lessons I Learned in Law. Thanks for taking the time. How are you doing today? How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's a hot summer in London, so yeah, it's good.
It's a sweltering hot day. Very grateful of the air conditioning in here, but yeah, it's a bit of a mission to get here without collapsing, but all good. I've given an introduction as best I can. If you could share a little bit about your current role and company that you're working at the moment, that'd be really useful.
Awesome. So I'm General Counsel at Bitstamp, which is a global crypto exchange. We pride ourselves on being the oldest crypto exchange globally. We operate globally. We have over 50 licenses across the world, and we've been going through a number of new licenses over the past 12 months as the crypto landscape evolves. Mm-hmm. My role oversees legal, and it has previously, it's changed recently, but it has overseen compliance and risk and company secretary. Okay, nice. And the oldest crypto exchange, what does that equate to? Because it feels like crypto for everyone will be like new news to most people. How old's it been established? Yeah, so we were founded in 2011, which is very old in the world of crypto. And for those people who are unfamiliar with crypto, a crypto exchange offers the ability for people that want to trade crypto, or businesses that want to trade crypto, to come to a central place where they can match their orders, their buy and sell orders with other parties that want to buy and sell crypto. Okay, nice.
In that time, you should mentioned like individuals or businesses. When have things evolved where you see more business engagement and business trading on platforms? Has that happened more recently?
I'd say it's been increasing over some time. Definitely, there's been increasing institutional interest in crypto, and it's just continuing to build. I think the development of ETFs in the US and now potentially in the UK as well is just increasing adoption by institutional investors.
Yeah, and how long have you yourself been involved in crypto?
So my crypto journey started in 2020. When I first joined my first crypto business, I think Bitcoin was trading at around £8,000. It's like, it's a multiple of that. It's like 10x that now. Yeah. And at the time, I was going through the interview process. I'd never actually bought any crypto. I thought, well, I should try this. Yeah. And I probably bought £10 worth of crypto, and next day it was worth £11 or £12, and I thought, wow, like I should have put more money in, right?
Yeah, I know. I think everyone's in that position. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, I remember being in when I first set up Heriot Brown. It was in a WeWork in Old Street, and it was 2016. And people were talking about, they had presentations when WeWork had some money. They had some presentations that they gave in the foyer and things, and it was about crypto. And even at that point, I still felt like it was, I don't know what it was trading at, but I think I've missed the boat here. You had people that had bought it 4 or 5 years ago, and but I think that's the FOMO, a little bit of FOMO on it.
It is, yeah, and I think it's really, whenever you look at the price and you look at what the price was, it's easy to think that you've missed the boat. I think there's a lot of potential for the future. Obviously, not investment advice, but I think we've got a long way to go. If you look at crypto adoption by consumers, it's still very low. I think in the UK it's like less than 5%. So you think increasing institutional adoption, the development of ETFs, ETNs in the UK, increasing consumer adoption, that's just going to increase the demand, and therefore the price, I think, should over a long horizon increase. Yeah, with some dips in between.
Yeah, there's roller coaster, but strap yourself in. Nice. So thanks for giving that intro. We'll just we'll jump into first lesson, if you could share that with us.
Sure. So my first lesson is to define your role as GC and make legal's role in the business matter.
Okay. And where, in terms of learning that, where do you feel you've gone through that journey in terms of learning that lesson?
So I think when you join a business, it's very easy just to focus on getting the job done. There'll be things coming across your desk all the time. But for the roles that I've taken on in sort of more recent years, I've thought very much about what the role of GC is and what the role of the legal function is, and how I can apply that in a way that both balances the ethical considerations of the job, the role, along with the role of an in-house lawyer, which is about being a business partner, collaborating with the business, achieving goals, and also being a trusted advisor to actually give advice. I think if you can frame the role in some kind of framework around how you think about the role of GC, it helps you navigate some of the complexities of the role. And as you become more senior, you will sometimes trip into complex issues where there may be multiple stakeholders with competing interests, or just very pressured projects, which may have an ethical consideration as well as a business consideration.
Okay, nice. And in your current role, what environment did you inherit when you took that GC position?
So it was a very mature business, and a very mature function, both legal and the compliance function that I took on as well. I think one of the complexities was, and this is something I've seen in previous roles as well, is actually navigating what's a legal task and what's a compliance task. And one of the things I think people really appreciate is having swim lanes. I talk about swim lanes in my current role. People want to have a swim lane. Okay, sometimes you might cross the swim lane, and that's okay. But people generally like to understand what is their swim lane, and understand what's a legal task and what's a compliance task. So when I joined, one of the first things I had to do was sort of try and figure out with the team what we collectively thought should be a legal task and what should be a compliance task.
Right. Okay. How does that, in terms of the compliance, so compliance professionals, people just from a non-legal background, but they are so blurred because there's a lot of compliance lawyers and regulatory lawyers and people that are perhaps moved into pure compliance positions as ex-lawyers. Where is there room for overlap, and how do you draw the lines?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you work in the regulated financial services space, there's overlap all the time, and as you say, that's made more complex by the fact that many, not all, but many people going into the compliance side of the business will have started their life as a lawyer, or they may be a qualified lawyer and actually see themselves as a lawyer working in compliance. So, and when you focus on regulatory, making license applications, dealing with complex regulatory issues, maybe complex issues with a regulator, the lines are very blurred. There's never a clear cut line. And the key is to get the best out of everyone, right? To involve everyone and get their input and have an agreed path forward, but also understand where people's strengths are, and where other people's strengths may be stronger.
Okay. And sorry, it's always one that getting our head around when you're recruiting these types of roles. But the function of a compliance team, is it to police the business to ensure that it's compliant? Whereas regulatory lawyers are perhaps more looking at ways to commercialize the regs. Like, is there a difference there, or am I?
So one person once said to me, legal answers the question, can we do something, and then compliance asks the question, should we do something?
Okay,
right. And I think compliance look kind of wider than legal. Legal may look at, is this legally compliant? Can we do this within the legislation or the rules applicable to the business? Mm-hmm. Compliance might ask a broader question, which is how this might be perceived by a regulator, for example, and what is this within the spirit of regulation, not just to the letter of the law. So I think compliance has that kind of broader view, but I do think they are guardians of the business. I still think lawyers are independent guardians as well. I think it's a really important part of the role, the ethical side of the role. But I think the compliance team are there to ensure that the business is complying with its regulatory obligations, both the letter of regulation, but also one of broader obligations to regulators to ensure that we're communicating openly and transparently.
Nice. So ensuring that legal matters and the work that it does matters. Do you have a playbook that you follow? Like, when you go into a company, how do you set yourself up to have that impact and ensure that it has that impact as a legal function?
So I don't really agree with the 100-day plans. I think it's a bit too prescriptive, and I think you have to go in and actually be open and listen and not make too many judgments too quickly. There's definitely a tendency when you want to go into a role, particularly in a senior position, you want to make an impact really quickly. And I've certainly done that in the past. Right. I don't think it's been the most successful thing to do. Actually, okay. I think the better way of approaching it is to go in, watch, learn, listen, observe. Yes, you might start making some observations quite quickly, and maybe there are some things you need to tweak quite quickly once you come into role, or problems that are coming to you by your team. They may be bringing things to you that have been bubbling under the surface for some time. So you've definitely got some tweaking and quick problem solving to do. But in terms of making any big changes or big impacts, I think it's better to take your time. Don't make judgments too quickly. Make sure that you've got all the facts, that you've spoken to the right people, that you've had time to talk to people, that have had time to trust you as well, to tell you how it really is, rather than smiling at you because you're their boss and they want to please you. Right? Yeah. You want them to be completely truthful and honest with you as well.
Right. And generally for those GC roles, like, do you have much scope for that, like doing diligence around that during the interview process, or do you find, having held a couple of GC positions, are you looking for different signals from people that are perhaps interviewing you or people that you're meeting across the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the questions I like to ask is, what do you think the role of the GC is? Right. So I think that you learn a lot from that question. And for me, the wrong question is, well, it's getting the legal work done, it's making sure the contracts are... that is definitely part of the responsibility of the role, but I don't think that's the role of the GC. So understanding how the CEO and other leaders see the role and the importance for the business is critical. But also, I think it's about understanding how... and that is hard to glean in the context of an interview, but trying to understand how the business communicates. So how decisions get made, where decisions get made, how the CEO likes to work with their leadership team, how much they're consulting, are decisions being made with the people in the room? Is it consensual decision making? Is it quite autocratic? Neither of those is the wrong approach, but actually understanding how the business functions day to day, I think, is really critical. Understanding the relationship between the leadership team and the board, and the CEO and the board, I think, is also really important. And as you get into more senior roles, it's more likely that you'll be interviewed by a board member or maybe couple of board members as part of that process. So you actually get the opportunity to talk to a wider range of people to understand their perspectives on the role as well.
Yeah. And not having access to those people during the process, you'd assume it's a bit of a red flag that you're not.
It does depend on the business, right? But I do think it's maybe indicative of where that role sits within the organisation. Yeah. So it's not, I wouldn't say, I think red flags is maybe a little bit harsh, but it probably is indicative of the importance of the role to the business. Or is it a role where the business just wants legal to be in a box and get legal work done and not be a blocker? Or is it the kind of organisation that sees legal as an enabler and actually unlocking problems and actually identifying the problems before they unlock them?
Yeah. Do you see, and from your peer group, do you think that like legal as an enabler, is it something that's more common now? Are you finding over the years that it's a common approach for businesses to take?
Yeah, I mean, I think enabler, it's probably a little bit of a cliche word. I know I used it, but it probably is a bit of a cliche word. I see it more as a business partner, right? So coming back to my framework, I think legal role is giving advice. It's being that independent guardian to the business, but it's also being the business partner. And I think increasingly, yes, European businesses are more focused on that. I think they're a little bit behind the curve relative maybe to where the UK has been. I mean, I would say that where I work is an exception to that. I work with an exceptional team, and they are definitely business partners, and I've seen that previously as well. But I do think that Europe generally is a little bit behind where the UK has been.
And where's the business headquartered?
The HQ's been in Luxembourg, but our founders were originally Slovenian, so actually most of our business is located in lovely Ljubljana in Slovenia. Okay.
Do you go often?
I do. It's a beautiful city. It's probably not somewhere to take a 2-week holiday.
Okay.
But you can travel out to Lake Bled and the mountains. It's very close to Croatia, so it's a really good spot maybe to travel from. Beautiful when you fly into Ljubljana. It's surrounded by mountains. In the winter, you can see the snow. It's really beautiful.
Nice. All right, I need to check. A couple of people in our team have been Slovenia, Slovakia, and the photos look incredible. So definitely should be on the list. Nice. Cool. We'll move on to lesson 2. Just going to pause for a couple of seconds and say that today's episode is brought to you in partnership with Wordsmith AI. Wordsmith AI is redefining how in-house legal teams work and operate, and how they automate repetitive tasks like contract review and other internal queries, and fielding those internal requests that are repetitive and can clog up how a legal team works. It allows in-house legal teams, frees up time to work on more strategic projects proactively. They're based in Edinburgh, so it's close to my heart, and they're one of the fastest growing legal technology providers globally. And they're really redefining how you can take technology and people and talent and transform the way that a business operates. So check them out at wordsmith.ai.
So my lesson 2 is about knowing who you are and what value you personally bring to the business as GC.
Okay. It sounds like a lesson that I guess comes with experience and time. What do you feel underpins that for you?
So the way I think about this is that every business is very different, and therefore every business needs a different version of you, not a different you, but a different version of you. And some businesses will want you to be really strong in a particular area. Maybe you're joining a business which has a lot of legacy issues that need to be cleared up, maybe some litigation, so that you're going to have to go in quite heavy on a particular part of your skill set. Other roles may be high growth, and so actually they need a completely different version of you. Or some businesses may be transitioning between 2 different paths, and they need someone that can come in and bring in change. So kind of coming back to the point on the teasing out in interview what's really going on in the business, I think it's really important to understand what's going on in the business, what is actually driving this particular hire. Maybe it's just backfilling a role, but even if it's backfilling a role, maybe the business wants a different tweak in this role relative to the person that was in role previously. One question I like to ask, for example, is what without being negative about the person previously enrolled, what is the thing that you're looking for that's different to the previous person? And that might just simply be because the business has evolved since that person was originally hired. But really understanding what the purpose of the role is from the business perspective and how I can meet that need, and then go above and beyond that. And some of the best CEOs I've worked with understand that the role of the GC is more than getting legal work done, and so your role as GC is really to kind of add additional unexpected value into the role, not just get the legal work done. That needs to be done. It needs to be done well, but you need to be thinking about how you can exceed on expectations and add unexpected value.
Right. So like those sort of grey areas that are perhaps adjacent to legal and touching legal, have you acquired those functions and like responsibilities through your career? What's been the biggest success, I guess, of your career in acquiring those and adding value like that?
Yes. So I've pivoted between legal roles and business roles, and I'm actually back and forth, which is quite unusual, I think, for most in-house lawyers. And I've been a chief legal officer, GC, but I've also been a COO. I've been chief risk officer. I've overseen operations, customer operations, financial crime, first line financial crime, as well as second line compliance. I think one of the I did an executive MBA, and that definitely helped provide some tools to be able to talk to the business wider than just from a legal lens. I think there is a general aptitude. Some people they're just wired in a particular way. I think they've always been wired to be more commercial and talk about problems from just a very commercial business perspective, not just a legal lens. I like to weigh in and have an opinion on things. Obviously, not something I completely don't understand. I definitely rely on others, but where it's something that I can understand and have an opinion, even if it's not a legal issue, I will definitely provide my opinion, and I will rely on other decision makers to take that at the value that they want out of that. But I will always provide that opinion.
Nice. How do you encourage your team to do that as well? Like, how do you get that across to them and get them to step up in that way?
Again, I think that's why I come back to my model, right? So your role of as lawyers about being a business partner and an advisor, and so the business partner is about speaking to the business in a way that isn't just answering a legal question. It's not taking things at face value. It's about asking why. I think that's probably the number one. So just because the business wants you to solve a particular problem, they may actually have the wrong problem, and actually you need to go back and challenge whether actually you've been asked to the work that you've been asked to do is actually the right work. Right. So don't take that at face value. So I like to encourage my teams to ask why.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great starting point. And the exec MBA. So when did you do? When was that? What part of your career?
I did that in 2011. I did that for 2 years. Exec MBA part time. I don't know how I managed to fit that in on a day. I couldn't do that now. We had every month we had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which was full time over a weekend. So that was every month. I used up some of my holiday in order to be able to do that as well. So I had less holiday. And then it's not just the 4 days, it's also the reading that you've got to do in advance of the next month, and also the assignment that you've been asked to do for the previous month, which you have to do with a group who are globally dispersed. It's super challenging. I wouldn't say it's super complex, it's just super challenging to fit it in with a day job and to work collaboratively with a team where there's no leadership, and you all have different views and different cultural backgrounds and and different jobs, right? And you've got to come together to deliver a unified piece of work. But it's definitely, I believe that one role that I put myself forward for, I wouldn't have got had I not done that qualification.
Right, cool. So it's been like, was it the sort of practical aspects of it? Is there a lot of that takeaway? And I hear a lot of the time, like the network that you build during the program is great as well. Did you find?
Yeah, the network. I mean, we're still very close. We have a WhatsApp group, and people are still chatting. 12 years later, we still have meetups. Probably less often, but we try and have a meetup every year. And when groups of people in different parts of the world where others are located, they have a mini get together and post photos. So it's definitely. It was an intense experience, which really brought people together. Yeah. And they're definitely people that you can reach out to if you need help on something. I'd say that for me, I don't tend to work very well in theory and concepts. I'm definitely much more practical and hands-on. And it's definitely some of the academic part of an executive MBA is very conceptual and it's very theoretical. Right. I probably enjoyed that less. Right. However, one thing I really took away from it is it exposes you to areas of business that you don't typically get exposed to as a lawyer. So you focus on strategy or business operations, and I found those parts useful building blocks. I wouldn't say they give you all the answers, but they're useful building blocks that you can take away. Right.
And where were you at that point in time, and how did you build up? Because you had the holidays and the time and investment in time, and I can imagine it's all-consuming with a job. But how did you build up, a case for that within your?
I was very fortunate. I was between roles. I was in an organisation that where I was helping sell the business that I was leading at the time. This is around 2011. And I was being moved into a European General Counsel role for the shareholder, and it's in a newly created role. And part of negotiating my deal in that new role was to take a small pay cut in order for them to contribute towards funding the executive MBA. And I think I was just very fortunate that I had done a great job in being able to sell this previous business for them. Yeah. And it was just it was right place, right time, and also a very supportive CEO and manager at the time as well.
If you don't ask, you don't get, though.
Absolutely, don't ask, don't get. And it actually, it could just be that you're just being supported to be able to have some time during the working day to get stuff done. It may not necessarily even be a financial contribution, but any support that you need. There's no way that you can do this without your employee being aware that you're doing it and supporting you through the process.
Yeah. And then of those, you said it's I think it's becoming more. There's more crossover and overlap in people taking different hats and within the legal space, but it's definitely a significant minority. So in terms of drivers for moving into CEO positions and those sort of commercial roles, what were you looking for in that, and what did you learn from that, moving back into being a lawyer?
I would say that the first time I did that move, I was probably terrified about coming out of something that I was very comfortable with, and I knew how to do quite well, I thought. And so suddenly you're in a role type of role that you've never done before. But actually, I just figured it out, really. I mean, nothing is that difficult, and it's just about being open to taking on a new challenge. But one of the things I've got out of these roles is seeing legal in a different context, and it's definitely influenced me as a lawyer and how I think about the value that legal brings to the business. It's not just about getting the legal work done. It's bringing a kind of a broader advisory component to the business, and also understanding maybe some of the negatives of legal and being more objective about that, understanding how legal can slow things down. I've been, frustrated with legal as a consumer of legal services as well. So understanding how you navigate through that and how you ensure that, as a legal team in-house, that you're not slowing things down. You're not making something unnecessarily complex. I'm a big believer of keep it simple, and not going down rabbit holes and getting lost in details. Just constantly coming back to the surface and actually getting stuff done. And I believe in that sort of 80-20 approach. Was ultimately nothing's ever perfect. Nothing's going to be 100% right. But if it's 80% right 80% of the time, I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah, hold water. nice. Cool. And outside of work, what are your areas of interest, and what keeps you busy?
So I'm a dad of twins. So I had a lot of lawyers have twins, I've noticed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's one of those. It's sort of the red Volvo, right? We've had someone in our team. Lucy's got twins, and yeah, every second person she speaks to is like, "I'm a twin parent."
It's true. It's definitely different. Compared to, not that I've ever had one child, I've only had twins, but from people I speak to that have had twins and then had a singleton, it's a different experience. So they both keep me very busy. They're 5.5. My son has autism as well, so that's kind of definitely been a new experience for me as a human being.
Yeah. Challenging, I imagine, but very rewarding as well on that front. And you travelled? Have they been to Slovenia with to see those mountains?
Yeah, so I travel a fair bit with the job. So we have previously spent quite a bit of time between Luxembourg and Slovenia. I don't think I'll be going there during the summer period, but maybe going back again in September.
Yeah.
But I also recently got a place in Spain.
Okay, nice.
So I'll be camping there over the summer.
Oh, lovely. Sounds ideal. And have they started school at 5.5?
They have, yeah. So they're just coming to the end of their first year in reception.
Yeah, big transition. Yeah, it's all good. Nice. We'll move on to the final lesson.
So my final lesson is about owning your own path and be brave enough to change it. Mm-hmm. And this is about remembering that you're not your job, but you are the career choices that you make. Mm-hmm. And I'm a strong believer that you need to be brave and make decisions that if you're unhappy with something in your role, you want a different version of legal. There are lots of different versions of being an in-house lawyer or a private practice lawyer, or different flavors of that. Be brave, take decisions and change things if you're not truly happy, or you see that your path is in a different direction. As I mentioned earlier, I've pivoted between business roles and legal roles. Mm-hmm. And when I first took my business role, I was looking for something different, and I kind of nearly went down a path of kind of doing the same thing I'd done before, but maybe in a different organisation, different job title. But I felt like something was missing, and also I was in technology and telecoms, and I actually really wanted to be in financial services. So by taking a leap of faith and taking a business role in financial services, it helped me pivot my skill set from being a technology lawyer to being a business person in financial services, which helped me then re-navigate into being a financial services lawyer.
And how did because that's a big transition to make in terms of the sector change, but also into the business area. How did you go about exploring those types of opportunities and making it happen?
So I was very fortunate that I happened to mention to someone in my network that I was thinking about changing, and I was actually talking to them about the role that I was quite close to moving to. And through having spoken to this person, they knew of someone else that was looking for a sudden gap had come up within this particular company, with a couple of people moving on at a senior level, and they needed to have someone enroll quickly. And it was just through that network that I managed to find that role. Again, some of these things are just opportunistic. If opportunities come your way, make sure you explore them. It may not be the right opportunity, but make sure that you've explored the opportunity and take risks. I mean, I definitely saw that as a risk, but it's definitely a risk that paid off handsomely for me.
Yeah, I can never understand when people are so closed off, and the starting point is not even having the conversation just to find out a little bit more. I think you see it a lot in junior lawyers anyway, that we as a team speak to. They're very risk averse in even just exploring, having a chat. There's nothing. It's always a two-way street, right, on those things.
Absolutely, and you learn. It may not be that you're actually even interested in the role, but you can learn from that experience. And actually, you may have someone in your network that you can
Yeah.
recommend that's suited for that. But even if that isn't your purpose of having the meeting, you just learn a lot from you can learn a lot from the interview experience, but you can certainly learn a lot about how other organizations are thinking about the role. And you should definitely have conversations. I'm a big believer of that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've applied for the position.
Yeah.
But have a conversation and be curious.
Yeah. I think curiosity should underpin everything. It sounds like it does. And in terms of the asking and being in charge of your own career and looking at making those potentially pivoting, but how do you position that, or talk about it to your boss or to someone that you might? I think what would hold me back or other people that might be listening is that, well, the worst case, you're always thinking what's the worst case scenario here? Am I looking I want to leave, or how have you positioned it in the past to improve your status quo?
So I've definitely been very fortunate to have very open managers and CEOs that are don't see it in having those conversations in a negative way, and definitely there is a risk. You have to know the person that you're speaking to be able to have that conversation. I like to have those conversations with the people I manage on a long-term basis. You don't have to talk about within 6 months. You want to be out the door and in a different role, but you can certainly talk about long-term career development. This is the direction of travel that I personally want to explore. How what are your recommendations for how I can do things differently? Just having long-term development conversations, I think is critical. In your head, it might be a short-term decision, but you don't have to position it in that way. Most people will have a conversation with you that is agnostic to the particular job you're in. They may need to be some assurance that that you're not about to walk out the door. But certainly, when I talk to my people that have reported into me, I like to talk about I'm not going to be here forever, right? So I want you to be the natural successor in this role, and that's why I give you the feedback that I give you.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, and are you how do you consume media? Are you a podcast listener or books? Do you have recommendations on either of those?
Yes, so in terms of books recommendation, there's a book that was recommended to me by a GC that I used to work with, which is called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There," which I love, and I think every senior lawyer should be made to read it. So the premise of the book is around it's really aimed at people that have moved into leadership roles, and they've developed a whole series of probably bad behaviours throughout the course of their career, which have actually helped them succeed in being technically strong and getting into a leadership position. But they are potential behaviours that will hold you back as a successful leader. And so I think if you look at some of these, I think there's 20 lessons, 20 bad behaviours, if you like, or behaviours that can be perceived as being negative in a leadership context. And I think many of those you can see lawyers being very, very bad at as well. Right? It's about the need to win. I think that lawyers are wired into that need to win. Starting a sentence with the word "but," right? So disagreeing, not accepting different points of view, willingly and openly. I've recommended that book to others that are going through difficult challenges at work, and actually bumping heads with other people in organisation. It's a great book.
Who wrote that? Do you know?
I have written the name down, but I can't remember what it is.
We'll reference it in the show notes. It sounds really helpful for that, particularly that phase where whether leadership's on the cards or is already there.
It's a really easy book to read. Right? It's very light. You can read one lesson a day. It's really, really good.
Nice. And podcasts?
Podcasts, yeah. So I love politics. I consume a lot of politics, and my favourite podcast is Political Currency. With Ed Bors and George Osborne. I love the fact that they come from two different sides of the political spectrum. I love the fact that these are two people that bumped heads with each other in Parliament, and now can actually debate things in a really open way that's not confrontational. I think that's a really healthy way of approaching politics. But I also like The Rest is Politics with Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell, and the US version of that, which is with Katy Kay and Anthony Scaramucci. I think that's actually the best one out of the three.
Yeah, they're fun. They're good characters. Yeah, they're very good. Very good. Excellent. Well, we have really enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise,
Thank you
thanks
for
for
taking
having
the
me.
time. Thank you, and yeah, look forward to hearing what's going on in crypto and following the roller coaster. But thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Cheers.
Bye.
I'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Wordsmith AI, for sponsoring today's episode. As a legal tech company, Wordsmith AI share our belief that great legal teams can take amazing tools and transform the way that in-house legal teams work and operate. So to find out more about Wordsmith, head over to wordsmith.ai. So that wraps up another episode of Lessons I Learned in Law, powered by Harriet Brown In-House Legal Recruitment. Now, I share these stories each week to help lawyers of all levels, and both in private practice or working in-house. And it doesn't matter if you're early in your career or you're already leading a team. Learning from your peers or from those who have walked in your shoes before, then this is the show for you. If you find it useful, I would love it if you could share it with your colleagues or share it with your network, or drop us a message just to let us know that you're listening and that you're out there. Feedback really helps us grow the show and take it in the direction that gives the most value to you, our listeners. So until next time, I've been Scott Brown. Thank you.